The food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. Unknown author. Welcome to Living at Your Finest podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Babs. I'm a triple board certified family, obesity, and lifestyle medicine physician, and I am the founder of Living at Your Finest Wellness, a holistic direct primary care practice. Did you know that 80% of lifestyle-related chronic diseases within our communities are preventable, with poor diet being the primary culprit? Now, contrary to what we thought, that it was our unfortunate genes, the good news is that we can make changes together to improve our health and quality of life. So that's what this podcast is all about. The Living at Your Finest podcast is devoted to helping families to live at their finest well-being using a holistic approach with a healthy lifestyle to nourish and flourish as a whole, vibrant, and healthy champion. So join me and my guests as we share transformational and sustainable skill sets from our health and wellness journey to support you and your families in achieving optimal well-being. Ready to live at your finest? Well, let's get to it. Hello, everyone, health champions. Welcome all to the Living at Your Finest podcast show. Thanks for tuning in once again. I hope you and yours are all doing well. Well, you all know how passionate I am about nutrition because it is medicine. You hear me say that quite a bit. Well, today's episode is extra special because we have an expert in food safety. He is with us today, Dr. Adedayo Odugbemi. He is an expert in this field and he has so much great nugget to share with us. I am truly honored that he's going to just share all that he knows about safety of food. So the title is going to be the safety of different types of food. And our discussion points are going to be about debunking food myth, the GMO, non-GMO, all these information that is out there. You know, he's going to break it down to the nitty-gritty. So it's truly, truly honored that he's with us. But let me give you a brief just introduction before we get started. So Dr. Adedayo Odugbemi is a distinguished food scientist with a Ph.D. in food safety. He leads the global food safety team in one of the world's largest food manufacturing companies. Yeah, I want to know which company that is. So we get to hear more about that. As an instructor, he teaches numerous courses on food safety, quality control, quality assurance, and continuous improvement. Dr. Odugbemi has a deep understanding of food science and frequently discusses the impact of nutrition on our daily lives. Additionally, he serves as an adjunct professor teaching various food science related subjects. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Odugbemi. Thank you so much for coming to the Living at Your Finest podcast show.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so you are so vast and well-knowledged and well-read. Can you share where did this passion begin and how did you get into this line of career?
It's a funny story. It's a funny story, and I always like to tell the story that I got into the world of food because I was lazy. It's always. I remember my college tour with my parents, and we went to school and we were looking at the engineering. I knew I wanted to study engineering, but I just did not want. So we started mechanical engineering. I said, no, that's not me. We went to chemical engineering. I said, nah. Saw civil engineering. I said, no. Then we saw one that said food science and engineering, and I said, that kind of sounds interesting. So we walked in and I spoke to the head of department, and 10 minutes later I was admitted to the department, and that started my journey into food science some 25 years ago.
That is interesting. So what about food science at that age was triggered? I mean, it's certainly interesting. It's a broad topic. So yeah.
It was because I was lazy and I felt like mechanical and civil and electrical was going to be too hard for me, but this was going to be easy for me to do.
It was interesting. It was mechanically powerful. Well,
Yes.
we're glad you're in the space because you've done lots of great work. So please share with us, what is food safety all about? What did you learn? And, just tell us what it has become for you.
So what I do every day and I preach is that how do you make sure that the food you are consuming does not make you sick immediately? That's just my job. That whatever you eat does not turn into an outbreak or an outborn illness effect on human body. So what my message is, which is what I also do professionally, is to make sure that irrespective of where it is made, how it is made, what is made, the most important is that anything you consume and put into your mouth does not turn into a source of worry to you. That you eat what is nutritious and what we call wholesome, what will not make you sick at the end of the day.
That's good to know. What food safety is so wholesome and will not make you sick and is nourishing to the
The
body.
body. Yes.
Now, would you agree that everybody has a different definition of what that would look like? But you're the expert. So can you standardize it for us so that there's no complete, everybody's going to think, what's going to make them sick. Some people tummies will turn to one certain kind of food. So what is that classification, or how do you standardize it for a layman to know what fits into that category of food safety?
The textbook definition of food safety is that you ensure that food is not a source of outborne illness.
Okay.
That the food doesn't make you sick after consumption, and the
Okay.
food makes you healthy. When we talk in the food of nutrition and nutritive benefit, it's subjective. But our job is that irrespective of what you put in your mouth, you don't get sick from eating that product. That is my job. It's now
Okay.
left for you to decide that, okay, I'm eating this, I'm eating that. Does it benefit my body? In what ration? And what? Those are nutritions to do that. But as a food safety expert, my job is to make sure that your food is not a source of health concern. You don't get sick from eating that food.
Okay, very good. Thank you for clarifying. That helps me because, people begin to break things into different categories. So whatever it is you're eating, as long as it doesn't make you sick. Now, what it does for you is a different story altogether, as long as it doesn't make you sick. Okay.
Sick.
So what would that look like? Can you share a little bit of it, from your experience? What are some things generally that will make food make a source of illness for people, generally speaking?
So I can talk to that in terms of industrial food and in terms of your home food. For example, you had your leftover meal in your house. You pulled the meal out on the countertop. You went back 6, 7, 8 hours. You brought back the food. You did not put it up in the microwave correctly to warm it up and heat up any microorganism that is left. You consumed that food. Now you're running diarrhea. That's a food safety abuse. When you buy your milk from your store, the milk is supposed to be kept refrigerated, but you didn't refrigerate it. You put it on your countertop for 5, 6, 7 hours. The next person comes, eat, pours on a cereal, gets sick. That's food safety abuse. You're supposed to get your food and cook it thoroughly. You did not finish cooking it thoroughly. There are some leftover microorganisms that survive the heat process. Now you're having diarrhea. Those are typical examples of food safety abuses. You're cooking for the family. You just had the bathroom. You didn't wash your hands. Now using that your gross hand to touch food for the whole family. That is food safety. So I can continue on and on and on to tell you that those are the kind of things I deal with. That how do you handle food? I just was talking about this recent incident that happened in London where a 12-year-old girl went to an ice cream shop and the girl told them 1 billion times, I have nut allergy. I have nut allergen, and she ordered an ice cream shake. The story is on the internet, you can Google it up. And she ordered a pure vanilla ice cream shake. But unfortunately, at that ice cream parlor, they had made an ice cream shake for somebody else that had nuts in it. They did not properly clean the blender. They used the same blender to make smooth the ice cream shake for this girl. She had the ice cream and she died because of allergen cross-contamination because they did not clean the blender very well. So those are the examples of what I try to tell, that how do you make sure that people don't die from whatever food they are putting into your food. If people don't get sick, people don't die, people don't get whatever illness or injury. Right? I mean, there is a popular fast food chain that makes some fast food product. They had product and there was foreign materials in it. The customer bought it, bite into the food, and she broke some tooth. That's food safety. So those are the kind of things that I do, making sure that whatever people put into their mouth, they don't get sick from that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So that's on the home front. So how do we, I guess that might be in the industrial front. That's where we have all the news when there's a recall of a food. And, recently, I don't know if of course, you probably heard about the carrots. That was scary. I actually had carrots we bought from Trader Joe's. That's one of the few fruits that my kids will eat. And we had not opened the bag. And when I went into the fridge, I was like, what in the world? Why does this thing look like there's all sorts of craziness in it? So, but thank goodness we hadn't opened it. We hadn't eaten out of it. So it was after the news and then all the outbreak, and I went into the fridge. This hadn't been opened, but all the changes had already occurred. So can you speak to what industrial, at least now we know how to be mindful of what we're eating and how we keep our foods at home. But how are we able to control what we buy from like mass production from the stores and, you know, different places.
So let me explain what industrial food production makes. A lot of the time, the American food manufacturing community works on manual labor. And these are people doing manual and repetitive jobs and fatigue. So a lot of the time, you see people making mistake, omission, commission, fatigue, forgetfulness, making a mistake in the plant. And unfortunately, if it is not properly caught or remedied or addressed, those products get into the community too, and that gets into your store. So most of the time, recalls happen because food manufacturer made a mistake. The product was supposed to be shipped, it got shipped, and now it's in the stores, and now we have to issue a recall. So a recall is one language or one word I don't always want to hear, but on a good, to be honest, it's typically mistakes that we manufacturers make all the time when we put on hold some product back, and that's why we want to always get it back as soon as possible. But mistakes happen. I mean, you see that it's not enough alone in the car manufacturer. How many times have you gotten emails from your car manufacturer saying, if you bought a car between this and this year, bring it back because the emission might overheat, or because this might happen or that might happen? Yeah, so it happens all the time, but our job is to be sure that if when it happens, we get it back as soon as possible, we control it, and we don't get people sick. But sometimes we are not lucky. We still get people sick or killed, as the case could be. But that's what happens when we manufacturers make mistakes and we're trying to get them back from commerce.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, those could be very scary because I mean, as much as we want to avoid that from happening, I am pleased that there is a system in place where they send out that information, radio, news, everyone. And
a lot of these stores have some automated systems. Like if you go to a store that has the app or the shopper's card or things like that, where they have your email and phone, they will actually email you or phone you or text you that, hey, you bought this product XYZ date, it's been part of this recall, don't eat it, bring it back, don't eat it or stop eating it. I mean, it's getting, so if you shop at those stores that have reward systems or have shoppers information, they will email you, but there was a study, and actually I was talking about it yesterday, that I said, actually, I think the number was 30 or 35 of people who were surveyed in that study actually had recall product in their pantry and did not know. So that's another source of education that you guys should follow up news. There are news outlets, there are email outlets, there are things like that. I will always keep you abreast of recall product, but know it so that you don't continue to eat that product. So sign up for some text messages and wherever, shop at places they have your information, that if something happens, they can get to you to bring back the product.
Yes, I think that's a great point that you made, because now that you mentioned it, I believe it was Target, not Trader Joe's, that we bought the carrots from. And then we got a call. It was a call voicemail.
They got the robocall, those automated calls that say, yes, you purchased this product XYZ date, it has a code date, bring it back.
That you bought this around here. Yeah. So we all need to be aware of this. So well, let's switch gears and talk about, how do we debunk those food myths, and what are they? What are some of those myths out there? You are the experts. Please enlighten us so that we don't fall prey to all these food myths that are out there.
So I had my 15-year-old daughter reach out to me recently and was asking a question about food. And I said, that's not right. I said, where did you get that from? She said, Daddy, TikTok. And I said, really? Another time she said something else. I said, that is not true. But that is true, Daddy. I said, where did you get that from? Instagram. Then next time she asked me something, I said, that is not true. Where did you get that from? Don't tell me Facebook. And she laughed and she said, TikTok. You see, the problem we face these days is that people are consuming information from unverified sources. So we were arguing about one, and I said, that's not true. Where did you get that from? And she mentioned the name of a sports person. And he was like, she has 20 million followers on Instagram. I'm like, but she's not a scientist. She's not a technocrat. She doesn't have, so she's putting out information that is not founded on science, or she's putting one that is based on myths. What I always tell people these days is that you don't have to believe what I say, but when those people give you those kind of information, fact check them. We have a lot of information. We have ChatGPT, AI tools, all those things that will give you accurate or close to accurate information. We have books. I mean, Google Scholar is there. We have a lot of information there. But the problem is that in the food industry, we've allowed what I call pseudoscientists, who are not experts, who are not scientists, who are not trained to be the voice of reasoning. And sometimes they misplace the facts. So we should try to get our thoughts about food from credible thing. But unfortunately, over the years, we've had a lot of misinformation that has been propelled that people held to it. I remember one of them that was sent into a viral messages that my grandma sent to me, and I said, Ma, I got a PhD in this. That is not true. They told me to send it to all my children because they sent it on our WhatsApp page. And I said, Grandma, send it back and tell them that is not true. My son is a PhD in this. He told me that is not true.
That my mom does that. Oh my gosh. She sends
Yes.
stuff from WhatsApp. They said that she sent it to 100 people. I'm like, "Mom, there's no science behind
There's
it."
no science behind it. They say, oh, that's what everybody on our group is sending it to all our kids and grandkids. I said, Grandma, this is not correct. It is not true. There is no truth to it at all.
Okay. Yeah. So what are some of those things we need to be mindful? Can you give us the top three that you know of that is common that we should be mindful? Probably GMO, non-GMO. I don't know. What are the common ones that you want our listeners to be aware of in your areas of expertise?
The first one I've always talked about is that all fast foods are bad. No,
Yes.
not all fast foods are bad. There are actually some fast foods that are good and nutritious. What you always want to understand is the method of preparation of those foods, the ingredient and the more materials, the method of storage and things like that. But not all fast foods are bad. And look at the way we live here in America and around the world with the fast-paced nature, with the time crunching nature. There is no way you can completely avoid fast food. What I've always preached about is dependence on fast food. There is no way with hunger, with satiety, with feeding, with nutrition, that every now and then you don't get fast food. You will have to eat it at one point or the other. So not all fast foods are bad. At every particular time, you might have to get fast food. But dependence on fast food is what is bad. When you have these fast food for breakfast, that one for lunch, and you make it a routine all the time, then that becomes bad for your health. And that's when you talk in terms of nutrition and wholesomeness and things like that. So dependence on fast food is what is bad, not consumption of fast food is bad.
Right. So let me ask you a question based on that, because I've always been curious about the fries. And I realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, they make the fries in this big hot oil, and they don't that oil. I don't know how many days it's safe to keep frying in that same oil. Can you share a little bit, because I
So,
don't know, and I just feel
so
it's
I could tell you one thing. The American food industry is highly regulated.
it's regulated. So there's a
Highly regulated.
there's a number of days that they're allowed to do that before they change it, right?
Exactly. And it's been scientifically proved. These manufacturers won't do anything like that is illegal. If any fast food owner goes beyond the allocated dates, they're going to go to jail.
I see. So what
So
is I'm curious. Do you know
it
what?
depends from place to place. I don't know.
Okay.
Years ago, when I used to work at a bakery, it was 7 days. We have to clean it up after 7 days. In some places, 5 days. At some places, 3 days. Where I work was an industrial bakery where we make industrial donuts. I did that some 20 years ago. It was every 5 to 7 days we have to drop the whole fryer, complete it out, and clean it out, and drop in new oils. But in between, there's some cleaning that we also do in between to purify the oils. So it's not. You see, when people put in that manufacturers bring anything to us to eat in the US, it's not true. After the health and the aviation industry, the food industry is the next heavily regulated in the US.
Yeah, but why do we have in Canada and all those other places where foods are banned? Why is there a delay? Like, for instance, the color red just got banned, and it's been banned in so many other places. So that's a little bit confusing.
That's the thing, because the US has a different food law. And to some extent, the US food law is a little lax than others.
Okay.
And I say that carefully because the US wants to have empirical data, have more science, and have convergence, because the US has more agencies with food. In the US alone, we have the FDA, we have the USDA, we have the CDC, we have the Department of Ag, and all those who have. So most of the time, they need the convergence, unlike Canada, where it's just only CFIA. Unlike Europe, where it's just EFSA, unlike China, where we only have just the GSCC. So it depends on that country. So sometimes the US may be late to the party, and they always want to have a definitive, what we call empirical evidence that is scientifically sound, and everybody will not argue it before they make decisions.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. It's good to hear that. Now, I know you wanted to share a little bit about GMOs, and, oh goodness, I'm from Nigeria. I know you're from Nigeria as well. And before I came into the country, I used to enjoy eating corn. But the moment I came into this country and I learned about high corn fructose syrup and how the corn we eat is not real corn, I'm like, now, before I even eat corn, I'm always questioning, is this corn that is real corn? So can you share a little bit about that and enlighten us about GMO, non-GMO?
So let me be honest with you, and this is a very important topic.
Okay.
The GMOs are here to stay.
Obviously, there's nothing we can do about it.
Let me tell you something. In 1950, the global population was just 2.5 billion people. By 2018, the global population was close to 8 billion. In the next few years, global population is estimated to be 10 billion people. And the main job that we're looking is how do we feed people? If we don't want people to go hungry and we don't want people to die on the streets, the challenge is how do we curtail global hunger? So we have to look for three things: food security, making sure people have food. Two, we have what we call food sustainability, that we no longer waste food. And three, food safety. Nobody gets sick from that food. So GMOs is the way to ensure that we can assure that we have multiple sources of food for people to eat, that we can produce more food. You can Google it. It's a publicly known fact. About 60% of the food today in the US is already GMO. A lot of your grains and corns and legumes and things are already GMO, because that is the only way we can get food in abundance for people. The science of traditional farming cannot provide the quantity of food that we need. Look at America, 350 million people. Traditional farming will not get us enough food. So GMO is on the way. However, that is why we'll now have to start preaching that people now eat to live. You don't live to eat. Portion control, exercise, intermittent fasting, overdependence on a particular type of food, and all those stuffs come into place. But in my opinion, GMOs is here and is here to stay. Let me give you an example. Somebody who works at menial job makes just barely above minimum wage. Do you think that person can afford to buy an organic milk gallon that is $8? Definitely not. So we have to have people choices, and that is what the US is doing, that we will give you choices, but what we'll do is that we will label it accordingly. It's now left for you to decide. But what they can do is that they regulate the manufacturing to be sure that it is safe and it is wholesome. But in terms of the content and the nutrition, it's left for you as the producer, as the consumer, to decide if that is what you want or not.
Oh gosh, that's complicated. That is so complicated because
But on the other hand, the GMOs are not bad. Science, the jury is out. There is not one science today that has been able to definitely tell you that GMOs are bad. About some years ago, we had the World Food Congress, and I was part of the Congress. And the theme of the World Food Congress that year was GMOs, how safe are they? And the argument was that they are safe, but we are not going to get to the world of nutrition and anything like that. If it is produced very well, they are safe. So the food safety is there. It's now left for you to debate what nutrition, the health impact, and long-term effect are. And the jury is out. There's not one peer-reviewed journal today that has been able to tell us empirically that GMOs are bad. Not one.
Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode. My goal on this podcast is to empower, educate, and encourage you to take actionable steps to triumph at living at your finest, body, mind, and spirit. Of note, the information provided here is for educational purposes only and does not substitute as medical advice. Please discuss your healthcare needs with your licensed medical professional. If you are in need of a compassionate and comprehensive holistic physician or know someone who is, please reach out through my website, livewellness.com, for a meet and greet. It will be my honor to talk to you. Are we connected on social media yet? I share more in-depth content on best practices to ensure that you live at your finest daily. So please join me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Living at Your Finest Wellness, where we can learn together and stay connected. Lastly, please subscribe to iTunes if you have not done so already, and share the podcast within your circle of influence. An extra step? Leave a review and let me know what topics or discussions you would like to hear more of. Thanks in advance. It is always a thing of joy to hear from you. Now, let's get back to today's episode. So for people that don't know what we're referring to, which I doubt, unless you're living under the rock, can you explain what you mean by GMO so that because most people know, but just in case, could you just tell us what that means? And I have my own bias towards it, but I hear you in terms of it's here to stay. There's nothing we can do about that, but we just need to be well informed to understand the reliance, the dependency. But it's good to hear that the WHO and the Congress that you talked about said it's not bad, but the question is reliance on it, how much of it you're eating, because unless I'm wrong, my understanding is that something is taken out of it, nutrients, and something is added into it. So please correct us. What does it mean? What do we get from a GMO?
Genetically modified organisms, or what we call in scientific bioengineered foods,
Bioengineered food. Okay.
What food type product where something has been done to it to ensure mass production easily, like a biological activity has come on to help us enhance a more productivity of the food to be sure that the quantity produced is much.
Does that not affect the quality of the food when you then do that?
No,
Okay.
most of the time the quality is not affected. What we're trying to achieve is that we get more out of it.
Okay. Is that what happens to chicken, that it becomes bigger in size and
So So it's not typically about bigger in size. It's about trying to raise chicken faster.
got it.
Let me give you a typical example. When we were young, and if you live in a village like I did, it takes 4, 5 to 6 months to raise a chicken. And I remember those days that if you eat it and you're cracking the bone, if it doesn't crack very well, you say that this chicken is not matured. And that is how we had chickens. That's why you only get chicken those days on special days, on birthdays, on Easters, on Christmas, because it takes a long to grow. But these days, chicken is ready in 30 days. Because that is why you can have your chicken breast and chicken thigh for $4 a pound. If you have to rely on the traditional one, it probably will cost $20 a pound. So that is why you can get your $4. You still get your gallon of orange juice at 2.5 or 2.25. Because if you have to rely on the traditional method that takes forever or that is seasonal, and after it, then you don't get your orange juice. That is why corn would take 3 months or whatever, but now you can get it in a shorter time and still get the same quantity.
Yeah, thank you for breaking that down for us. And that's an understanding that I had, not in detail like you explained it, but what we found is that the things that they've done to speed it up are all the different things, the hormones and all of that, which as a family physician, I've seen, no, that's just for animal product, right?
Actually, hormones are banned to be used on animal products in the US. No growth hormones. So that's another myth that when they say, oh, they've been pumping. No, when I used to work in the dairy, when the raw milk comes to the plant, the first test we'll do to check is the presence of antibiotics and hormone residues.
Oh, I see.
If you buy your gallon of milk, and I'm challenging you today, go to any store you like, go to buy a gallon of milk, in the label, read it. There's what we call the farmer's pledge, and it will stay there. Fact check me that this milk was raised on, collected from cows that has not been injected with we call it the recombinant bovine somatotrope hormone, the growth hormones. And it will tell you that it's not. It's a law. If any farmer does that today in America, they are going to jail.
Okay. Well, I thought that when you go to the egg aisle or all of that, you have the ones that are more expensive because they're not hormone, and then you have the other one.
It's the one is not hormone. Again, that's the meat that is hormones. What you have is what we call the pasture raised, the cage free, and all those sorts of one. Then that is organic, that has not been filled with things and things like that. But hormones is not. Nobody in America today can use hormones on animals. If you do that, you're going to jail.
Well, that's good to know.
So when people say that they've been fed with hormones, that no, it's not hormones. It's some other processes that have been used biological. That's why we call them the bioengineered food to increase the production and speed up the time. But none of it has to do with hormones. Nobody will infuse hormones in your food. If anybody does, any food manufacturer does that today, they are going to jail. And trust me, the government are out there testing food more than you know.
Okay.
So if they find it in any food product, that farmer, that food manufacturer is going to jail.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, because we have all these hormone disruptors and everybody is like, okay, eat organic versus non-organic, all the different information that is out there just to support wholeness and decrease the chronic lifestyle related diseases, which primarily is based on our diet. The SAD, you've heard about the standard American diet, has been shown and proven to be
But if you look at the analogy I gave to you earlier on, a gallon of organic milk is $8 versus the conventional one that is $2.5 or $3. If I work minimum wage and I barely will make enough money, how could I afford organic? So what America is doing for us is that they're giving people choices to make. So we have the organic, we have the non-organic. So you now determine. But what they will do is that they will regulate the manufacturing of both to know sure that it is made holistically, it's made safely in a clean environment, the employees are okay. So that safety is ensured. It's now left for you to decide which of the two you want to buy.
Okay, well, that's helpful to know. Very good. Do you have any more myths to share before we shift gears and learn about who you are as
Let me look for one more
a
to. The other one is the fact that vegetarian diet is the best option. No. Actually, what is best for you is what we call a balanced diet. If you are reliant on vegetarian, and we have studies there that are show that you miss some essential nutrients that are lacking in terms of meat product, especially on the protein side. So what we always recommend is that you have a balanced diet that has your protein, your carbohydrates, your vitamins, and everything. However, you can have your plant product to be more, but vegetarian diet is not. There is no science that tells that vegetarian diet is better than the other. What we always like to talk about is the balanced diet.
Yeah, and that one I agree with you, although there is for everybody, some people just totally based on just their genes. And we've seen, because there was a study, I'm an obesity medicine specialist, so
Yes,
we've done some studies where they showed just twins, just because of the gene, some people were better off in terms of eating more plant-based foods and couldn't tolerate animal products. So that the general rule for everyone, but it could be individualized
that
for
could be individual variations. Like some people are allergic or sensitive to some product type because of their medical condition or things like that. We have different kind of allergens and sensitivities. Those are understandable. Those are exceptions. But for the overall, I think what we like to talk about is the balanced diet.
yeah, a balanced diet where you definitely you're not missing any food groups. So yeah,
Exactly.
very good.
That's exactly.
Well, very good. I think we've learned a lot. Oh my goodness, great stuff. Food safety at home, industrial food safety, a lot of myths there, GMO, non-GMO. We would like to shift gears now and want to learn about who Dr. Adedayo is. If you're ready, let's go.
Yes. Sure. Yes.
All right. So, the name of this podcast is called Living at Your Finest. So, can you share with us when you are not dealing with food safety issues, what do you do to live at your finest well being?
I love to travel.
Okay, nice.
And I've been around the world a lot. I've been to several countries. So last year I visited 16 countries.
Last year, 16?
16 countries.
Wow. How did you do that?
Because I'm blessed to have a job that gives me a global footprint. So I
Got
get
it.
to go around the world. But in my spare time, what I like is doing travels. I've been to several countries around the world. I like to travel. So I like to travel. Then I'm heavily involved in church activities. So most Sundays you'll find me in church almost all day.
Oh, very good. Very good. Which church do you attend?
I
You
attend
church?
Jubilee Christian Church right there in Stone Mountain.
Jubilee Christian Church in Stone Mountain. Okay.
Yeah, so most of the time you'll find me in church on Sundays, but I love to teach. Then I do a lot of teaching. So I'm an adjunct faculty professor too in a college. So most of the time you'll find me teaching. I love to teach, to educate, to impact knowledge. So when I
Awesome.
have my spare times, I love to do that. Then
Very
I love on the family home. I love to experiment with food too. I'm not the best chef, but I think I know how to cook a little bit. So most of the time I play around with food too
Oh,
at
good.
home.
What is your favorite meal to make?
Oh, good. My daughter told me that if she doesn't eat mac and cheese anymore in her life, she's had enough. When when they were young, I used to make them mac and cheese, different flavors, different recipe every day. But I'll cook anything.
Oh,
Typical of us to eat. Yes.
very good. All right. Well, I think we can go for two more questions. What is one word that describes you?
Oh God, one word. Everybody around me know that I've got a lot of energy.
Oh, you have a lot of energy?
Oh,
Okay. So
yes, I'm always on the speed. Oh, one of my things is sense of urgency. Move it, move it. So
move,
I've got a lot of energy. Move it. Nothing stops.
stop,
Let it
stop,
go.
stop.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
That's
Several years ago, we're doing this thing at work. We call it supervisor calibration, where
okay.
the people who work for you get to talk about your leadership, your management style, and your technical abilities, and just to give you the feedback on how you lead them. And I remember having that. That was around 2015, and all the guys that work for me on my team had that supervisor calibration for me. And the first thing they talk about was that he makes decisions fast.
Okay.
And I'm like, never had that feedback before. I said, nobody was supposed to tell me who made what, confidentiality. But I asked them, I said, hey guys, come around. Tell me about this. That was the first they said, when we have problem, we come to your office, we're telling you what is going on, you're asking questions, and you already told us the solution.
Mhm.
So they said, that's very rare that you already know the solution. Said he thinks fast. That's what he said. Said he thinks fast.
That's a skill. That's definitely a skill. That's great to
Because
know.
as they're telling me the problem, okay, tell me what's going on, tell me what's going on, tell me what's going on, tell me what's going on. I'm already thinking, okay, what could it be? What could it be? But I think that came with experience.
Hmm.
Comes with experience that I could tell you, okay, check that, check that, check that. Is this on? Is this on? Is this what is on? I work with time. I love time.
Time is of the essence. Very
Time
good.
is of the essence, you know.
Very good.
As a person of faith, one of my things is that I look at time, and there's a person a message I delivered a long time ago. Where I talk about the concept of time. That
Mm,
time, and we all just have a few of it. It depends on
mm,
how well you use the time. How
yeah.
you use your time determines your life.
Yes, absolutely. Redeem the time for the days
Because
of
days are evil, and the Bible let me know that the time is coming, and now is the time.
always the time. Yes, I grew up, my mom always used to say, make a while the sun shine.
Sunshine, yes.
Yeah.
And you strike while it is hottest. So I believe one of my mantras personally is time. That use your
Yeah.
time well. Use your time well.
Yes,
Use your
very
time
good.
well.
Well, I've had a great time with you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Odugbemi. Thank you so much. We want to give you an opportunity. Please share with the listeners and just viewers how they can get in touch with you, learn about what you
Oh,
do, learn about your, mission trips and what all the things you do. Please share. I will put it in the show notes, but if you'd like to just, part in words and share how people can get in touch with you.
so, in passing word, I would like to put out some things that how do you live well? And I'll put four things out there. And the first thing I'm going to tell people is that no matter what you do, always make sure you eat a balanced diet. When you have your meal, make sure that you get all your food groups, your protein, your carbohydrates, and everything. Make sure you get it. And not just one. I have some people that will only eat rice and rice and rice. Maybe another opportunity when we could talk about the rice epidemic. It's bad. We could talk about it. But make sure that you always eat a right balanced diet. Number two is that when you consume food, when you buy your products from the grocery store, always read the label. The fewer the ingredients, the better for you. Always read the labels. Eat right and eat smart. Then number three, exercise is good for you. No matter how much it is, you walk, you run, get on the treadmill, make your exercise, avoid sedentary life. And lastly, moderation is the key. Don't overeat. You see, some people will sit down and they will overeat and eat too much. No, don't eat too much. Eat just what you need for it to be enough. So that's just my four parting words that I would always like to tell people that those four things will do us well. And I'm always around. Find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, and throw me questions anywhere you find me, and we'll put that for you, and you can always get me there.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. This has been great and fabulous. Definitely will stay in touch with you, and I'm looking forward to just learning about all the different things that you're into, like the organization. And so I really appreciate this time with you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. And so to our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for hanging out with us to the very end. I'm sure that you found this episode inspiring, impactful, as I have. And so you've heard it. Dr. Odugbemi has left us with four key things. So please remember that you've listened with your right, you've listened with your head, it's absorbed into your heart, but now you have to take actions with your hands. So pick one thing, just keep the moving going, make sure your plate is balanced. So that will ensure that we all live at our finest well-being. So until next time, I want you to all remember that you deserve to live at your finest because you are worth it. So take care and God bless.